What is up, guys? Today we are inside of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, and today we're going to be checking out which unit in the Spooky faction is the best. So we're starting off with the Skeleton Warriors right over here. We have 20 of them, and what we're going to do is we're going to see how they do against the melee units. So we're just going to have a bunch of squires right over here. Okay, one's in the water. 30 should be good, so we're going to have it be a 30v20. I know that's not all that fair, but we're just gonna see about even numbers if they're a little bit outnumbered, if they do well. But as you might be able to see, they're not doing well, and instead they're kind of getting one-shotted. You might also be able to see that they have a special ability, which is the Spook ability, which makes units scared and also makes them back away. You can tell that they have this ability on them as of currently, because they have a skull. Well, actually, they have 3 skulls, 1 big one, and then 2 small ones above their head. So we're going to make that a little bit more of a fair fight by only having 16 of them, since it is 16,000 versus, or 1,600 versus 1,600. So we're going to see what they do about this. One of the squires appears to be stuck on the bridge. I don't know if that will give the Skeleton Warriors an advantage or not. I don't think so, because one of them had fallen over and couldn't get up. So that's an issue. A lot of them are getting stuck on the bridges. So yeah. Yeah, the Spook ability kind of just makes them get stuck, especially on this map. So yeah, it's the Spook ability is good and bad. Now the Skeleton Warrior is stuck, so he's not going to be fighting any battles anytime soon. But that last one just got trampled. So they did win against the melee units, because they spooked most of them into the water. So the good and bad things about the ability, of the spooking ability, that they have is that the good thing is that it can push them into like objects on the map, for example the water in this case, so then they drown. However, the bad thing is that they always spook enemies away from them. So if you have a bunch of melee units, then the Skeleton Warrior is not really the unit to use, because they just make it so that way the enemies get spooked away, so then it takes longer to kill them. But we're going to see now if the shields that they have can protect against arrows, and as of currently, it seems like only 2 of them died because of the archer's terrible accuracy. However, it appears that one decided to go on the bridge for some reason. I don't know why he decided to do that. However, it appears to be an ingenious move, because now half of the skeletons have fallen down the river. I'm not sure if that's going to matter though, because we have 3 skeletons over here that just took them all out. Another thing about the Spook ability that you might be able to notice right here is that it also makes units not attack, so that's why the archer wasn't shooting. So overall, so far, Skeleton Warrior is a pretty good unit. However, now we're going to have archers against archers, except these archers on our side are going to be skeleton archers, and they have a special ability, which you'll see in a minute as soon as the arrows start flying, but you can actually see it right now. They have fire arrows, so whenever an arrow hits, or I should say if an arrow hits, because it appears that all of them have missed. Yep, not a single one hit. But if it hits a target, then it does pretty good. Now, the only bad thing about them, which you just saw there, is that they cost a lot. So if you're against other archers, then those archers are probably going to win, just because of how much your archers cost. So you can get so few of your archers when they have so many. But we're going to see how they do against melee units now. So it's not really that fair. They have $20 extra on their side. But we should be able to see here. Yep, the units catch on fire, and the fire actually spreads, which is why so many of them have caught on fire. And the fire quickly drains their health. So against major packs of units, this is definitely what you want to use. However, just be aware that this also goes with friendly fire, so if a skeleton archer accidentally shoots another skeleton archer, then all the skeleton archers around that will also catch on fire. So, again, it's a pretty good unit. next we're going to have the candle heads, and these cost 20 more than skeleton archers, and we're about to see what they do. Which that thing that they do is they push units away from them, which is an ability that most units and tabs do not have. So that's pretty good. But we're going to see in a sec if they can do good or not against the squires. Now, I don't think that they will, and the thing that makes me want to say that is because although they blow units back a decent length, they don't do all that much damage. So unless they get lucky and shoot them into the water like that one, then the squires won't really die, and then they'll quickly become outnumbered, just like this, and yep, that's where they all die. Which the skeleton archer and the candlehead also have the same thing. They're both very expensive units for slow fire rate or just not enough damage, depending on which one. So you can easily get outnumbered and just not really do good. Again, we're outnumbered completely here, so I don't think that they're going to win, seeing how about half of them just died on the first volley of arrows. A bunch of them are dying, and they didn't even get to fire off a single attack. However, the good thing, which I'm going to show real quickly, is if we only have a couple of candle heads, so we're going to have like 4, and then we have a few skeleton warriors in the back, and then we're facing off against melee units. See, the good part about this is that they push units back, and I know that the melee units on our team don't really have a good example of that, since it's kind of the opposite of what we want, like I said when reviewing them. But if you had 3 skeleton archers, then what you're going to see is that the squires won't really get that close, because they're always going to be getting pushed back. Which there again is the friendly fire that I was talking about with the skeleton archers. But yeah, as you can see, they're not really getting that close because of both the spook and the pushback from the candlehead, which gives the skeleton archers plenty of time to fire. However, the unfortunate part is now that they're ungrouped, the skeleton archer can't really get extra kills for the fire spread. So you just have to be aware of that if your ranged unit is going to be the skeleton archer. So next we have the vampire, and we're going to see how well they do. Again, just like all these other units, I kind of know what they already do. So basically they turn into bats if they're far away, which in this case they were, and then they rush over to the enemies. And then once they do that, they drain the enemy's health. I don't think that they recover HP from doing that, but I'm not exactly positive. But yeah, they drain their health until they're either killed or until their enemy is killed that they're targeting. And it also makes it a lot harder for units to hit them. So against melee units, they're really good, which is in the campaign, which is why they're very aggravating to face off against. So we're going to see if the archers can handle this. Again, I don't think that, like the melee units, I don't think that they're going to really be able to do it. Because as you can see, the archers still aim below the bats, because that's where the archer thinks that the hitbox is, but it's not really there anymore. Yeah, they kind of just die. However, I should mention that if you have an area of effect unit that like covers an area of where a certain enemy is rushing, aka the vampires, such as the Solar Architect, if you have that, the bats only have 1 health, so they can only take 1 hit, and if they die, then they don't convert back into vampires, so you just have to be careful with that. But anyways, we have the next unit, which is the Pumpkin Catapult, which is very similar to the normal Catapult, which is right here. They're both the same price, however it appears... Oh wait, nope, it just looks like that. I was gonna say it appears that the Catapult takes up less room, but that is not true. So as you can see, the pumpkin catapults aim more upwards because of how their pumpkins bounce, compared to the catapults which aim forwards, since their rocks do not bounce. However, the thing to note about the pumpkin catapult is because of that, it takes a while to get to the target, so the target might just be out of the way by the time the pumpkin gets over to where they were. So you just have to be careful with that. Anyways, we're going to have a few squires over here, just like that. I know it's not entirely fair, there should be an extra 4 squires, but in this case, as you can see, most of them just got deleted, basically, from the pumpkins. So the first volley goes well, but then the second volley, well, it also goes well. That's basically their last chance, because now what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to blow each other up, just to get those 2 squires. And as you can see, one of them actually was still surviving there, so only 2 of the pumpkin catapults remained. So you just have to be really careful and make sure that they never get reached, otherwise all your money is basically just gone. So we're just going to have a few archers, we're not going to have that many, and then we're just going to remove most of the pumpkin catapults, just like that. And we're going to see how they do. And again, they're not going to do well in my opinion, as we can see there, because there's just too many archers. So yeah, against mass ranged units, don't use them. Against mass melee units though, just put a little bit support in front, and you're all good. So now we have the Swordcaster, which is the second to last unit that we have here. So the Swordcaster, even though it uses swords, it's actually a ranged unit. So you just have to be aware of that. We're gonna have the Sorsas, because I don't feel like using the Squires this time, because we always use the Squires. So we're gonna give someone else a chance. So as you can see, they throw swords at a kind of fast rate, and then once they die, the swords go towards where they were, and then they scatter in random directions. I have tested it out. The swords, when they scatter, do still do damage. So if a unit is in the way, and then one of the Death Strike swords is in the way, then they'll still take damage. So yeah, against melee units, like a lot of melee units, they're not that great. Against ranged units, we will have to see though. So we're going to have about half worth, because again, they're outnumbered, and that's another thing. They have very low health. So yeah, what I would basically suggest is just using this to keep units back. And a lot of this faction is kind of just delaying stuff. So you're going to notice that. But if we just have like a few hay balers right here that are just rushing towards them, they won't take damage. However, they will keep getting pushed back, which will mean that they'll pretty much never get to the swordcasters, except for some reason the swordcasters will have aimbot and suddenly be able to kill the hay balers. I don't understand how, for some reason right now, they're doing this. But yeah, as you can see, the hay balers in the back got pushed back so much that they just couldn't get there. And anyways, onto the last unit, which is the Reaper, and I think that if you've played this game, you can all agree that it's one of the most overpowered units in the game. We're going to have a Mammoth, which is pretty much the same value, it's only like 300 less. And the Reaper is not taking all that much damage, but he has a Scythe, which makes effects. It has an area of effect attack, and the Mammoth is dead. So yeah, that's something to know. It's very good against high health units. If we have a bunch of ranged units, however, as you can see here, if they would actually hit, he's very weak to ranged units. So if you just have a few spear throwers, then he kind of just doesn't do all that well. And yep, there it is. As you can see, when he dies, he also turns into a black hole. And the tentacles that he has can also impale units that don't have that much health and are small, which instantly kills them. Anyways, so we're going to do the rating. So the Skeleton Warrior, it's good. It just spooks away too much, so it kind of delays battles. Skeleton Archer is very good for high health units. Candlehead is kind of useless in my opinion, but sometimes it's good. Vampire is pretty good. Pumpkin Catapult also pretty useless. Swordcaster pretty good, and Reaper God tier, basically. So that is going to be it for this episode. Everybody, peace out.